Hey guys, this is KE from Artful Impersonator, and today I'm going to be showing you how to make Karkat's horns. So, first we're going to get your workstation all laid out and all the supplies you will need. Primarily you're going to want polymer clay. I use Sculpey brand. It's this stuff right here. You're going to want to lay down some tin foil, kind of tape it to your surface here to keep you from messing anything up. Get a nice metal headband to keep from meltifying it in the oven when you're going to bake it later. And you're going to want 3 colors of paint. Probably a bright yellow, something for the center of the horns, a primary color. A nice pale yellow, which you can also make by mixing yellow and white. And a bright orange for your base. Now with polymer clay, it'll come in either little small packages or in like one of these size blocks if you don't buy in bulk like me. So you want to snap off maybe, one of the top sections of it. Here's the box if you need to look at the logo so you can kind of see what you'll be seeking out. And first thing you're going to want to do is work your Sculpey out. This stuff is a little bit messy, so you want to take off any rings or anything it can get caught in. And work around it with your hands because it crumbles a lot and you'll lose little pieces. So now you're just going to roll it around, smash it up, beat it up, whatever you need to do to get it soft enough. You'll be able to tell by feel once it's able to be molded and smushed easily. Basically, you're going to make 2 little wads. Soften both of them up, make them as close to the same size as you can from the start, and round them out. Roll them between your palms to make a nice ball, like a perfectly spherical shape. And that's what you'll come out with right there. So you're going to want to check to make sure that your balls are the same size. All of the striders listening to this can now snicker in your levels of immaturity, because I definitely was. You can add and subtract Sculpey that you've worked, like the rest of it, to make them bigger or smaller so that their sizes match. You're gonna want them to be about an inch and a half in width for Karkat horns, although it's a matter of preference as to what size you want to make them. And just keep kind of adjusting the sizes between them till they're pretty much eyeball about the same size. So toss that around, roll it really good. If you have any little cracks from smoothing in Sculpey, keep rolling, keep kneading the edges until you actually have them perfectly smoothed out. So there we go, a couple of nice balls. And that one was a little too big. Hate it when your balls get too big, right? Anyway, then you can start to actually make your little nubby horns. And you're going to want to kind of triangulate them. You can either press them against your surface or against the palm of your hand. Either way, you're going to want one flat side, and then to start to somewhat point them from that flat side up into little mountain-looking things. There you go, you can see it. Starting to make them a little triangular, little round triangles. These looks like they're a little bit off in size. Now's a really good time you're going to be able to tell whether or not you've messed up the size. Really easily fixed though. Sculpey is like super forgiving. So if something is not correct, it's really easy to add clay or subtract clay or just generally smash them back into what you originally wanted them to be. This same base form can actually be used for a couple of different horns, basically because smaller horns all have the same-ish shape. You could use these for, say, like Solux or Terezi, which I'm going to show you here in a moment how to use them kind of for those two as well. But you want to make sure you're smoothing them out all of the way along like smoothing any lumps or edges, making sure that it's going to sit flush against your head to avoid headaches. So the flatter the bottom, the better on these kinds of things. You don't have any weird lumps going in your head. Here you can kind of see how if you pointed the horn and curved it a bit, the same type of horn could be used for like Solix. Or you can smash that back down and actually give Karkat the points he was never born with, and you would have Terezi. So these basic size and shape works for several of the different smaller horned trolls. Oh, renubify. Kind of magical renubifying there. So, with Karkat, I generally will give him rounded tips, but a very, very slight hint of a curve in either direction so that they just look a little bit more lively and realistic. You can also, really good way to check and see if they're the same height is to, just like I did there, put a flat finger across the surface of them and see if they're even at the points. So, finick with them until they look how you'd like them to look. It's kind of a matter of preference and headcanon. Another thing, too, that can be done with the Vantus horns to kind of show that different Vantuses is giving them a little bit more shape and curve for, like, Cancri or Signless if they're a little bit older. The more arch to them, more length, as if they grew a bit. So, but since these are Karkat, I make them super nubby. Check the bases to see if they're the same width as well as being the same height. It's just setting them together is a really good way to do that. Smooth out any edges. The thing about polymer clay is if you run your finger along the surface of it gently, you can smooth out any unevenness in them. Take out any nicks or dings or any other little issues you've had. And so now it's time to attach them to the headband. Please forgive my now weird looking mohawk that I stuck a headband on. You're going to want to get in a mirror and kind of check where you want your horns to sit on your head. It's best to do this for yourself because that way you can see how it's going to look. And it really helps if you do it alongside your wig. So kind of judge where I like Karkat horns to be. Then I will hold one onto the headband and make a tiny Sharpie mark on my actual headband where the bottom of the horn is sitting. Check it again, make sure I put that one in the same spot, and do the other side. You'd be surprised how different horns look on a headband than they do on your head, and you may think you had the placement, but it'll come out looking awkward if you don't double check it on your own head. So there's my marks to show me where I'm going to place the bottom edge of my horns. Just going to define them a little bit better. And make sure they're actually even on the headband. And there we go. I can line my horn up with that. And then I just sort of, for this part, I'll press the metal edge of the headband just deep enough that the horn is flush against it. So just kind of shove that up in there a bit. They're pretty firm once you've got them made, so you can handle them quite a bit without doing a lot of damage. And there you go. I've kind of smushed it up in there. And what we're going to do is actually make another little disc of Sculpey, basically, to stick to the other side of that fucker. So, more kneading and swooshing. Roll that into a ball, and then flatten it out until it's about the size of your horn base. And this is actually how it's going to stay attached to your headband. Don't make this too bulky, or once again, it's going to cause headaches. Make it nice and flat where it'll also sit flush against your head. But just trap that headband in there really nicely. And then you can smush it down really hard with your fingertips and smooth the edges of it. Just use the little smoothing motion back and forth, kind of smushes that sculpey into place. Keep an eye out. You'll get a little bit of wiggling in the headband, not too much, but if it does start to, just smush it right back into place. Make any adjustments necessary for gapping and stuff like that happens at the edge. And then carefully now this time attaching the one to the other side is a little more complicated because you run the risk of, kind of screwing up that side, but once you've got that on, you do the exact same, repeat all of the motions, and you will have lovely little shouty McNub nubby horns. And they are ready to bake. So we're going to take them. I would line your pan with tin foil to keep the oils from the Sculpey from getting on it, especially if it's one that you use for food. Going to turn your oven to 250 degrees, or maybe a little less because my oven's an overachiever. So I always have to do a little lower temperature. Put your pan in and make sure your horns are sitting exactly how you want them to. Nothing's going cockeyed or in a weird direction. Close it up and you're going to let it bake. 30 minutes later. And I got cold. So there's my jacket now. They're nice and hard. They become almost stone-like after this, but you will get some sliding on a smoother headband. So there is a way we can fix that. Basically, after baking, polymer clay becomes somewhat like ceramic. It's nice and hard. It's, it's kind of like ceramic or pottery. Not quite as fragile. So you're gonna take wherever your horns are sliding at, get you a little bottle of super glue, and insert it right wherever there's gapping. Squirt a really copious amount in there. More Dave snickering in the background. And slide them exactly where you want them, let them dry. And then the painting part begins. Get your 3 colors of paint out. Got my brush. For the base part, I need what the paintbrush will do. Gonna use your middle yellow, your bright yellow, to basically paint the entire horn, one good base coat for coverage. I'm just going to speed along with that. Insert some random form of crazy music here as I flash step my way through painting horns yellow. I always paint all the way down to the base just because it makes a nice smoother look. And the next you're going to take your orange after your yellow has had a chance to dry. And while that kind of paint along this really shitty paintbrush. And going back to my other paintbrush, you're going to paint the bottom portion of the horns orange. More speed painting. And here's where, if you are wanting to, you can make them a bit more detailed, get a little creative with it. But for these, since Karkat has fairly simple horns, I just did a nice stripe of orange around the bottom. Yeah, I don't really know what to do to cover the speed painting part. Watch KE paint hyper fast. There we go. So then I rinsed my brush off, and I'm getting a little bit of my nice light pale yellow and doing the tip of the horn in it. Kind of a lot of the same technique as just doing the orange. Paint up the tip of his little nubs, and now we're really starting to look, well, pretty much like candy corn on a headband. Alright, then the final touch I do with silver metal headbands that I've had to use because they don't blend so well with wigs, is I will get a nail polish in whatever color my wig's going to be. For a Karkat, usually it's black unless you're Trickster or something like that. And I will paint the primary part of the headband with the nail polish, which does not flake off of metal. And that way you mostly won't be able to see your headband with your wig. Alright guys, there's your finished product. Thank you for watching, and do not forget to subscribe for more cosplay tutorials. Thanks!